Hey, what the hell are you doing walking around dressed like Star Wars?
It's Comic-Con, you idiot. We're going to the Javits Center.
Well, you're the idiots because you three guys would never be walking together.
Yeah, you're his boss, and you two guys are enemies.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk.
Hey, whoa, come on. No, that's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's two different franchises.
Yeah, sorry, guys. She doesn't know.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, come on. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. Very excited about this match today. We've got Andrew Barr going up against Amaru Moses. It's a contender match. Winner goes on to play for the title. I'm very excited about this for a couple reasons. One, we've seen Rue challenge for the belt before against Kirk, who is the current champion. So that would be a good redemption story for Rue to get there again and potentially win that belt. On the other hand, Barr's never made it this far, to my knowledge, in debate. So I'd love to see him get a shot. I think both are very exciting. Mark and Javi are here to judge this one with me. I have an ear infection. I can only hear out of this ear. So I'm going to just be like this for most of the debate. But very exciting stuff. Let's get into it. This is how it's going to work. There are 4 prep questions based off of 4 categories that the players drafted. They are going to debate the questions that we gave them before our very souls this evening. So they each get a 1-minute opening, followed by a 1-minute or 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing. At the end of the debate, Mark, Javi, and I will write on our handy dandy boards who we thought won the debate. If you get 2 out of 3 votes, you get a point. 3 points wins you the match. Any questions, gentlemen?
Ooh.
Let's do it. Okay, we are going to kick this off with the first category, which was drafted by Rue in the category of Criminal Underworld. The question is, what is the most exciting scene in a Criminal Underworld film? Rue, because you drafted this, you get to go first. You have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
So I picked the Arc de Triomphe scene in John Wick Chapter 4 because it does, it goes against what usually happens in John Wick scenes. They're really long and they get really repetitive, but not with this one. This one, it starts off with a car chase where people are getting thrown from cars. They're getting hit into poles. The cars are hitting each other. People are shooting, and he drives down, hits the Arc de Triomphe. They get a wide shot to kind of visually see us where we're at. And then everything we love about John Wick scenes that makes it exciting go into it. Car chases, foot chases, gunfights, hand-to-hand fights, knives, motorcycles, people getting hit. You get the locked off shot of him driving around in a circle around like 4 or 5 gunmen, shooting them as it's happening. And then once that happens, we basically lock in to what John Wick's seen. And while all of this is happening, we are in high-speed traffic in the Arc de Triomphe. So at any point in time where people are swerving and kicking and fighting and shooting and dogs are attacking, a car can come in and hit somebody, and they do. It's crazy. Hell exciting.
All right, let's move over to Mr. Barr. Andrew, 1 minute when you start talking.
So the most exciting scene in any John Wick film is literally in the first movie, and they've been trying to recapture the energy of the scene in every other movie since then, and that's the Red Circle Club scene. There are so many great shots, the lighting, the angles, the action, the pacing of the action, how much action is going on. There are so many bodies hitting the floor as the one character that John Wick is trying to actually kill is running through the entire building. You get awesome music that's playing throughout. There's like a couple different songs that start playing, and every one of them actually build the tension as the scene goes forward. And just like some of these action scenes are absolutely incredible. Just the choreography as he's just flying through all of these people, trying to get to the one person that he needs revenge towards.
Okay. Two excellent sequences. Gentlemen, 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking. I will throw up a 1-minute warning when that time comes. And if one of you is talking too much, I will throw up the let your opponent talk. Don't make me do that. It'll make me sad, and it'll make me send Nick to your house, and he's mean. So 5 minutes when one of you starts.
The reason why I picked my scene as the most exciting, because when you have all those great shots and the great angles and the great pacing and the gunfights and the knife fights and the hand-to-hand fights and the dog, at any point in time with those cars being in first-person point of view, you don't know what's going to happen. So you literally go, oh, shit, when one guy gets hit and John Wick shoots him in the air 3 times before he hits the ground, or when the dog comes out towards the end and jumps from car to car to car to car and bites the Hispanic dude's hand right before the end when Tracker shoots him. And that's what makes it exciting. Yours is not exciting. It's great. It's impactful. And everything you said is absolutely correct. It has great shots. It has great angles. It has great pacing. How the bodies hit are great, but it's a action scene that sets up John Wick as a dangerous person but it's not exciting because all it does is go from first guy I kill, shot, shot, shot. Second guy I kill, shot, shot, headshot. Third guy I kill, shot, shot, shot. One after the other in a pace that is tense but not exciting, just has you locked in.
Yours sets John Wick up as a superhero. Your scene actually suffers from what I call Fast and Furious syndrome, where he gets up so many times and he seems fine that it legitimately lowers the stakes of your entire scene because you don't have any fear for him. Whereas with mine, you feel the pain anytime he gets stabbed or shot or thrown somewhere. And there's 17 people that get hit by a car in your scene. After number 9, you're kind of expecting it from then on out. Whereas with mine, as you're watching it, you know that his main target is the one that keeps running, and the excitement builds from seeing if he's going to be able to capture him or not. Plus, there are so many exciting moments that happen because of these camera angles. Like the way that the one guy pops up into frame out of the pool looking like a fucking Adonis. Like that dude looked dangerous. So moments like that actually build the excitement of my scene, where yours, I don't feel any excitement because I know he's going to be fine.
You want to talk about camera angles? Let's talk about when we have the passenger shot of John Wick. He's shooting people, and all of a sudden, you see the first-person point of view of a car hitting him dead on and him going to the side. Also, your superhero thing. How exciting are the Fast and Furious superhero films? They are hella exciting because they actually give, and John Wick does a better balance of actually giving that superhero syndrome with actually feeling every hit. Every time John Wick gets hit, you can hear him in his head say, I'm too old for this shit. And you love that. We have spent the entirety of John Wick Chapter 2 killing all of New York. We know this man is going to survive. So the excitement comes from how many different times and how many different ways are we going to see action scenes that build one on top of the other on top of the other. You want to talk about you're getting excited by a guy rising out of a pool? How about getting excited by when a hand-to-hand combat is going on? We're serving from one car to the next that we don't see, and then all of a sudden the camera gets a little bit wider and a motorcycle hits another guy. They keep upping the ante because they know, yes, cars hitting people is going to get boring. But how about we then make it into a gunfight? How about then we make it to a sniper fight? Then how about we make it into a hand-to-hand fight? And how about we bring a dog into it? They keep upping the ante. In yours, I know what's going to happen because it's the middle of John Wick 1. We know this guy's going to get away, and I know he's going to kill that one person. Then he's going to kill that next person. He never fights more than one person at a time, and that's not exciting for me. That's great, but I'm just locked in. I'm never like, ooh, what's going to happen next?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, your scene has so many people. Like Cheaty also gets hit by 2 cars or something like that, and he pops up and he's fine. The dog gets hit by a car and the dog is fine. Aside from the little expendable guys, which by the way, the CGI is so atrocious with the blood, it completely distracts you. Whereas with my scene, as you see him walking slowly behind that frosted glass pane and you see the guy's body go up against it and the blood spurt up, what incredible imagery. You say that you know that the guy's going to escape at the end. No, you don't, because you have to also have the story with his father. So he could get killed in this moment, and then the father has to get taken care of later on.
That would be way more exciting if he had to do more than just go from one guy to the next in order to kill him. Actually, it would be more exciting if he actually killed him, but he does not. You talked about the CGI with the blood. That same CGI has been used in every scene since John Wick 1. And then when you talk about the dog getting hit and coming up, how much did you hold your breath like, oh shit, where's the dog? And you get something, you're like, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, strike it from the record. We are going to go to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Rue's scene becomes tedious after like the 17th time someone gets hit by a car. The stakes are so low because everyone that's like a main character, including that dog, just gets up as if they're fine. They just like keep going at like Terminator like speed. Whereas with mine, you feel the tension because every time that John gets injured, you feel that injury. There's also like gunfights, like close hand combat, and also just like the actual cowardice behind the guy that he's chasing, using the woman as a shield, makes you just want him to kill that guy even more. The one shot of him walking through the crowd in that slow-mo with the spiral in the back gets me so fucking pumped. It's the exact same thing over and over in Rue's scene, and it loses you after a while.
Time. Okay, let's go over to Rue. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Barr's scene is not exciting. It's methodical. It builds some tension. It's impactful for John Wick. But after he snaps old dude's neck at the beginning of the scene, you are getting tired of the repetition of 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, over and over and over and over, and Marshawn Lynch over and over. And I keep doing that and exaggerating because that's how many times that happens. Where if you're talking about minds is one thing over and over again and again. So a hand-to-hand fight is different than a gunfight. A swerving through cars is different than a motorcycle getting hit, which is different from launching one person from a car into a pole, which is different from a dog attacking somebody, which is different from a sniper rifle. The thing with John Wick Chapter 4's Arc de Triomphe scene is they make you think you're going to have a long scene with repetition, but they keep upping the ante over and over and over while cars are whizzing by in a locked off first person scene and not a wide shot. So you never know what's going to happen next because you never knew who's going to get hit. John gets hit. The dog gets hit. The villains get hit. The motorcycle gets hit. You are never knowing what's going to happen. And that is what's keeping you excited.
Time. Okay. Bring in the judges.
Pizza time.
The most exciting time of this match. Whereas I have a sparkling water.
All right. I'll go first. Excuse me. I went with Rue. I like both scenes quite a bit. But I think Rue did a good job kind of dismantling Barr's. I thought Barr had some good hits against Rue's. It wasn't all negative, but I do feel like Rue made me really feel the excitement of his scene despite Barr's takedowns. And I thought that Barr couldn't lift his scene up as high given Rue's takedowns of it. So I went with Rue. Mark, where are you going?
Yeah, we kind of like for a bit of this fight, the takedown sounded a bit similar because both of them were kind of taking the route of your scene is overly repetitive. I ended up going with Amaru here. I think because by the end of the fight, I think he turned the repetitiveness of his scene into kind of a strength. In the very least, like you're not sure what's going to happen. Like everybody's like just getting smacked with these cars. Like you're like just all this shit is happening. Like I kind of liked how at the very end he's able to turn that around. They kind of and as a whole, it just sounded like more was going on in his scene. So got the point for me on that one.
Okay, Javi, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Oh shit!
You're muted.
You're muted.
I went with Amaru. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Barr. No, I liked both of them. I think Rue did a better job of like showing that it was excited in the sense that it's like I'm way more like wild about it and excited about it. But I think Barr's takedown of like it's good, but it's like one of the good scenes from Fast and Furious, which is like that. Like to me, he painted it as like, yeah, it's like one of the good Fast and Furious scenes, which is like, yeah, it's actually, but that's not what you want in John Wick. In John Wick, you want more of the John Wicky things, and they've been trying to capture that the club scene for a while. So I went with Barr, but I think yeah, Amaru getting this point makes sense also. So
awesome. All right, well, we're gonna move on to the next question, which was drafted by Mr. Barr in the category of crime. The question is, what is the best performance in an Agatha Christie adapted film? Barr, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
So the Agatha Christie adaptations have a murderer's row of great performances. And a lot of the times, those performances come from great characters, which we'll touch on later. However, when you're up against actors such as Albert Finney, Sean Connery, Vanessa Redgrave, Anthony Perkins, Martin Balsam, like the who's who of actors in the 70s, and your performance is the one that everyone tends to talk about because of its deep emotional weight that's carried through it, that would be Ingrid Bergman in Murder on the Orient Express. She gives such a grounded performance for only a little bit of time in the movie, and you walk away from it going, oh my God, like she's the one person who I just absolutely think about when it comes to their performance. And I'll let my opponent go on about this as I defer my time.
Okay, sounds good. We will move over to Amaru. 1 minute when you start talking.
It takes a whole lot to have one of the greatest film twists in movies of all time in Witness of the Prosecution, where you have extremely intense courtroom scenes and one of the probably most blindsiding and most talked about twist of all time. It takes a lot to be in that movie and make your performance be the thing that carries all audiences to the intensity and the greatness of that film. And that is why top down, Charles Lawton in Witness for the Prosecution is absolutely the greatest performance in the Agatha Christie adaptation, because not only is he a lawyer that is intense and passionate, but before we even get to that, Charles Lawton's ability to show his comedic side at the beginning with his back and forth with his nursemaid makes him human, makes you love him, love to hate him, show his arrogance, show his pride, show his cockiness. But even through all that, you can tell that he is having a fun back and forth. And that doesn't take away from when he needs to be really intense in the courtroom scenes. And that is all because all his subtleties and his grandiosity come together to make a very believable character.
Okay. All right, 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
So you want to bring up the fact that he's carrying the intensity during the twist, which, first of all, the writing is not going to be important, but it's going to be the performances. Marlene Dietrich is actually the one who is giving the performance in that moment that all of the weight is on. If she can't pull that off successfully, the whole film falls apart. Lawton just has to be there and just be like, I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. Whereas with mine, Ingrid Bergman has to do so much in so little time amongst all of these other fantastic performers. And there are like some beautiful moments, like when you see the actual murder happening and she says, for their Daisy and mine, God forgive me. And you just feel the emotional rip through her as that moment happens.
So I had been hearing basically everything you just said about Ingrid Bergman's performance. I was waiting on her. Like, I knew there wasn't that much of a scene, and I know that could be a great performance. And I was waiting for this grand monologue to feel anything from her. And by the end of it, I was like, that's it? That's it? I remember for her brown babies and my brown babies more than whatever she's talking about Daisy. All I got from her was her walking in the background, being very reserved, very inside, and then no emotional resonance really coming outside of a person who feels for something. But I was waiting for more. I was looking for, wait a second, where's that extra level of either intensity or crying or maybe a little bit of excitement, or if not excitement, really inhibited performance from her. And I was, by the end of it, I was like, oh, that's fine. To go against what you said about Lawton, though, I didn't say he doesn't carry the intensity of the twist. He carries the intensity during the movie that makes the twist that much more believable, because the entirety of the movie, you're going off of whether he believes his client's innocence, and you go on the ride where he thinks, oh yeah, he's guilty, but then all of a sudden, one scene after the other, you see him get more passionate and more into the scene. And the one scene that follows how great he is throughout the entire thing is that you are a habitual liar scene, where he goes from the fun back and forth to incredulity, you know the word I'm trying to say, to absolute
No, I don't say it.
Grandiosity, incredulity, whatever the hell that is, to grandiosity, and you believe every single aspect of that scene. That encompasses how great of a performance it is.
See, here's the thing. Lawton's performance relies on the strength of everyone else around them specifically. They're actually doing a lot of the carrying. Dietrich, Elsa Lanchester in particular, anytime that the two of them are together, she is absolutely carrying all of the heavy lifting when it comes to the acting. Where there is, yeah, you're right. There is no monologue for Ingrid Bergman, but there is that one still shot as she's being questioned, and it's just hovering on her face, and it stays there for 8 minutes, and she has to run a gambit of emotions, from anxiety to haunted to scared to hurt. And it is just her face and just the absolute amount that she's doing, carrying that one shot is fantastic. Whereas with Charles Lawton, he's not really doing much that other lawyers in other movies do. Like, there's nothing that really differentiates him from them.
I have never seen a lawyer do in the habitual liar scene the range of emotions that any other actor's done. Starting off with I will say he's one of the best typical lawyers you think you're going to get, where he's very steady and stern. But because he set up his comedic performance at the beginning, you start believing him when he says, oh, and didn't you lie about that? Oh, and then you want to say you came here and lied about that. And now we are to believe that this one is the truth, as he laughs in her face. So he goes from stern to this kind of cockiness to all of a sudden when he busts out in the yelling that you lied, and then you see the pain in his face because he has that heart condition, and you believe everything in that one little facial expression. You believe all the breadcrumbs we've been given, that he shouldn't be a lawyer anymore because it's bad for his health. All in that one scene, he goes from stern to laughable to absolutely just grandiose, which he expands in the entirety of the film.
You had some time. Let me get a little bit more time in before we finish this up. So you want to talk about a little bit of comedic in his performance. There is a little bit of comedic in Ingrid Bergman's performance. The first time you see her, when they're about to board the train, she has this little moment of physical comedy that's actually really perfect, where she's dropping things from her purse nervously, and it looks so natural. Like, that's hard to do naturally.
Time. Okay, we're gonna go to Rue to close first. Rue, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
First time I saw Ingrid Bergman on the movie, I had to ask myself, is that Ingrid Bergman? I don't know who is Ingrid Bergman in here. It's not the outlandish lady who's actually stealing the scene. Oh no, it's the more reserved one who looks scared as shit in a very kind of sarcastic way, because we've seen other people getting haggled and actually deal with it in a more natural way. When it comes to Charles Lawton, he wanted to say that everybody else had to carry his scene, but Lanchester could not have been able to be so likable if she didn't have somebody who was just as cocky, just as likable, just as much as love to hate. The lady who carries the twist, I don't know her name. She doesn't get as angry and as furious as she would be if Lawton isn't picking at her with such subtlety, from subtlety all the way to rage, in the way that he's able to, from front to back, show you the range of an actual person. You believe that he's hilarious. You believe that he's cocky. You believe that he's passionate. You believe that he's a great lawyer, and you believe that he's in pain who shouldn't be a lawyer anymore.
Okay, we're going to go over to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Rue said Ingrid Bergman was unrecognizable in this film, and that's because she's doing so great at her job. Ingrid Bergman usually is one of those actresses whose like presence commands the screen, but she's reining that in, and she's playing this kind of like mousy, nervous, like person who doesn't really want to be paid attention to that much. She's doing an absolute dynamite performance where like she during that little 8-minute scene, as I said, she's uncomfortable, but then as she like grows to really like connect with Poirot, you see these little like smiles kind of like burst across her face in like little moments where then she realized what she's doing and she's kind of like hiding it back in. She's giving an absolutely stunning performance where when you're comparing her to like everyone else in that movie, as I said, Connery, Finney, Redgrave, Balsam, Bacall, he is the one that absolutely stands out.
Time. Oh boy. All right.
Good shit. Good shit.
Good shit. Not gonna lie, Rue. While I still disagree which scene is more exciting, you definitely won that argument.
All right. Javi, you're starting. You're muted.
Muted again.
No, I'm not.
I did that
You
earlier.
can't prove nothing. You can't prove nothing. I don't like going first, but I guess everyone has to at some point. This was a lot of hearsay because I haven't seen either of these. I'll get around to them maybe. I went with Barr again. I think Barr just painted me a better picture of what made this character and this actress, which one gave a better performance, just by even in like the ending argument, just being like, yeah, you don't recognize her. Which one's Ingrid Bergman? That's kind of like, yeah, that's a good way to spin that, of like, she may not be like the front and center of it all, but it's like a very subtle, very reserved performance. And I don't know, I was won over by that.
Okay. I also went with Barr. I thought that this was pretty close. I think that there were a couple little hits though that Barr had against Rue that won me over. One of them was like Javi was saying at the end. I thought that the whole thing of like she might not have this major like dialogue speech monologue moment, but that moment of her just like on her face for 8 minutes, like it does a lot for the performance, because you just see the performance come through there. And then also the other hit that he had of saying that Rue's character, while good and the performance is good, it doesn't do much different from many other lawyer-esque performances. That kind of worked for me as well. So I went with Barr. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, clean sweep here. Also went with Barr. Yeah, I was kind of leaning Barr for the majority of the fight, and then Barr really kind of sealed it with that closing argument. Kind of Rue came at him with a lot of really good point. Like the good point of like, I don't know, like I just didn't really feel Bergman in the movie. Just like I didn't really see Bergman in, and then Barr just kind of whacked him with that point just right at the bat. It's like, yeah, that's the point. Like you don't recognize her, like because like she's doing just something completely different that she's never done before. That it was, I won the point right there for me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that means we are all tied up. The next question is going to hi baby. The next question is going to come in the category of recent releases. Hi. Recent releases, and this is by Rue. The question is, what is the best romance film from 2023 to now? I'm a fan of this. I like this. Let's do it. We're going to start with Rue. Rue, best romance film from 2023 to now.
I picked We Live in Time, first and foremost, because the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh is off the charts. It's probably the best chemistry I've seen since Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. And we know how that happened. You fall in love with them from the second that she hits him with his car, and you just are endeared by the playfulness the two of them have with each other. In addition, they have that non-linear timeline, the storytellings where they drop you into a tragedy that they're dealing with at the beginning. So as they go through the story from the future to the past to the present, you start to get invested. Like, how did they get to that point, and how do they fall so deep in love? And then what happens after? And you really don't know until the very end. So you were invested in their story. But most romance films only really deal with what they do for each other. I love this film because they really hone in on the part in romance that you have to take care of yourself before you could take care of anybody else. And that plot point of Florence Pugh doing what she wants to do for her life, no matter what's going on, really hit me and makes you endeared to them as a couple overall.
Okay, we're going to move over to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
For as much as a lot of romance movies like to idealize it, and yeah, sure, they make them like have little moments of distress. Usually everything's like a very idealized version of romance. Whereas with Honora, it shows you how messy and aggravating and scary and that love can be. And sometimes that we don't realize that the love that we think that it is not actually what it is. It brings the idea of a romance movie to a new level and a new depth that other romance movies, especially around this time, have not really been able to do. But it also balances a lot of great elements. Like, there is really good comedy in this film, just kind of peppered throughout, as well as really intense stakes and moments that actually make you kind of like nervous. It is a fantastic movie and a great look at what romance is.
Okay. 5-minute freeform. One of you starts.
First and foremost, I also really love And We Live in Time when Florence Pugh does what she wants to do despite having what she's dealing with. I'm trying not to spoil. And Garfield doesn't just accept it, nor does he just turn over. They actually have conflict and conversations and end up showing what it's like to let a person be a person and have your partner be there with you the entirety of the time. In addition to probably one of the most comedic and funniest birth scenes I've ever seen in a movie. You want to talk about Honora. And if we said, what is the best movie? What is the best comedy? I would take that. But this is not what I want to see in a romance film. You want to talk about idealized romance that's messy, scary, and aggravating? You're talking about past lives because there's actual romance in that film. Where is the romance in Honora? There isn't. There's a relationship where two people are trying to take advantage of people and gain something, and somebody gets away with that at the end. This is uncut gems in a relationship, not a romance film.
The romance slowly builds, but it tricks you. It makes you not realize what's happening until towards the end of the movie. It's not a slap you in the face like thing. That's not what love is. That's not what a connection is. It builds and grows over time. And that's what happens between Annie and Igor. You see that kind of slowly develop as the movie goes along. It makes you think that it's about the other guy. But then you realize at the end, just like Annie does, what an actual connection romantically between two people is. It's not about sex. It's about the bond that they built. Whereas with yours, Andrew Garfield falls into the background of this movie. His character kind of like just disintegrates and it just kind of becomes, oh, I'm the supportive husband, but there's really nothing else left behind him. It becomes Florence Pugh's story. So you can't tell me that it's about the two of them together.
I know that Andrew Garfield is a divorcee. I know that he initially screws up their relationship by leaving it because he's scared he's going to get hurt again. I know that he really does not want her to do the things that are going to make her more sick because he's the one that brings up the conflict. I know all of these things. And then I know that he's the one that has to, I'm spoiling it, I'm sorry, y'all. He's the one that takes the love they had with his wife and brings it to her daughter at the end. That's why he does the egg thing at the end, because he is the ultimate supportive husband that makes himself known while accepting and being there for his wife. The majority of Anora is about the romance that you don't want to talk about. We see for the majority of the film him playing video games and walking away. There's no romance in that. The relationship between Annie and Igor is not romance, it's convenience. Igor is in the background of that entire film, just telling her, don't yell rape, don't do this, don't do that. There is no romance being set up in the movie. It is a very amazing, dramatic moment at the end when they have the sex that they have and they cry together. But that's two people dealing with a traumatic event in the same place at the same time. There is no actual love coming between the two of them, just a spot of convenience and mutual trauma.
Then why does she break down and cry at the end when Igor shows actual compassion?
Mutual trauma.
And sometimes relationships are built around that, like a traumatic event. And yeah, sure, the romance between the two characters towards the beginning is just the starting point that shows the lead in to this romance actually being built. Love is not an easy thing. It's not an idealist thing sometimes. It's hard, it's messy, it's disgusting. It makes you question a lot of things. Where when your two characters meet for the first time, it's like oh, I hit you with your car. You're kind of cute. I think that we should see each other kind of thing. The connection is so fake. It is just dropped on you on a dime, and we're forced to believe that they love you, that they kind of have this connection at first sight.
So that's the good thing about the nonlinear timeline. We actually see them past that point for about a good 30, 40 minutes in the movie to show that the love that they actually have. And we don't drop in on that scene. We get that scene to say where that started. And a lot of the times, if you get hit with a car, you're going to be angry at each other. No, you know the innocence of Andrew Garfield. You know the playfulness of Florence Pugh. They are great actors who make that extremely believable. And that's why the chemistry is there. What you're talking about, if we have a movie after the end of scene of Anora, that's the romance I would like to see. But what you are talking about is a sequel that hasn't happened yet. They do not set up any kind of romance between Annie and Igor, because everything is based on the actual advantage taken between her and Ivan. You're bringing up a movie that does not exist
and
yet.
She realizes what love actually is because of the failure with Ivan.
Okay. This was one spicy meatball. We're going to start with Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
So yes, the relationship between Annie and Ivan was not real. It was kind of poisonous. It was kind of treacherous. But because of all of the events that happen in the aftermath of that, Annie discovers what an actual connection is. Like there's little moments when Igor hands her the scarf and things like that. He's protecting her. And she kind of realizes, oh, this relationship that I thought was love has actually deteriorated into something that never was that. That is such an interesting topic to make a love story about. Rue wants to talk about the nonlinear storytelling in his movie. I want to bring up a movie from 1967 called Two for the Road with Audrey Hepburn and Albert Finney that does the nonlinear storytelling way before this movie ever did, and it does it better. This one, We Live in Time, starts to feel kind of contrived. It feels a little bit calculated, and Andrew Garfield's character kind of just disappears into the background by the end.
Okay. We're going to move over to Rue, who has 1 minute to close when he starts talking.
Luckily, this question is about 2023 to now, not of all time. So I don't care about previous movies. I care about the ones we're watching. And the movie you keep talking about doesn't exist yet. How does she know what love is with Igor when she doesn't know anything about him past a scarf, his empathy, and trying to yell rape to get him off her because he basically kidnapped her? There is a connection there because we see the brilliant performance from Yuri Borisov, why he got nominated, because he is an empathetic character. And she cries at the end because human beings can bring connections when they share traumatic events without being in love. They can actually show empathy and care for one another without any romance. We have no romance in between them. We may get it later, but it doesn't exist yet. We live in time. We get it from the very beginning, being dropped into a tragic situation, then going back and seeing where he came from, where she came from, the connection they get when they meet, the absolute fun and conflict and horror they have with it, and allowing Florence Pugh to be herself with Andrew Garfield being supported.
Whew. Okay.
Crust time. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna eat this.
You're making me hungry, I swear to God.
All right, Mark, you can kick us off.
All right. Yeah. I'm with Rue. It just, I'm not gonna lie. I think in general, I think Barr probably picked the better movie here. I just think for the context of this fight here, Barr was just in an uphill battle this entire match. He kind of was in this weird realm of trying to explain why it's a good romance, and like Barr just kind of kept hitting him with like these subtle jabs, and I feel like it was kind of tough for Barr to kind of establish a good foundation for his fight. And like I think Rue was able to just kind of do that. And I don't really feel like there was a ton of pushback, at least on at least what Rue had built with We Live in Time. So it just for me, I had to go over Rue on that one.
Okay. Javi, you're next.
I haven't seen any of these movies. I know Honora's beloved, and I know that thing about the horse in the poster for We Live in Time.
Oh shit! I forgot about that. Fuck.
That said, I went with Rue. I think he just painted a picture of, well, this is more of a romance movie, and you feel the romance throughout it. Honora may be a better movie overall, like Mark said, and Amaru even gives that point to Barr. But the question is, well, what's the better romance, or what's the better romance movie? And I think he just was like, yeah, you feel the chemistry between the two, and that's like the most important part of a romance. And I just didn't get that from Barr, so I went with Rue.
Okay. My vote doesn't count. I also went with Rue. I thought that Barr did a good job of actually convincing me of some stuff in Honora. I like that movie a lot. I don't really, it is a romance. I don't think of it that way though. Like I think of a lot of other stuff, but Barr kind of had me convinced. But I feel like a lot of Barr's attempts to like take down We Live in Time were just not there for me at all. He's like, Andrew Garfield kind of falls into the back of the film, and Rue pointed out that is in fact not true. And Rue just had a lot of good attacks against Barr's attacks. I thought Rue did an excellent job on We Live in Time. Both great films, though. Both enjoyable. Rue is up 2-1. That means Barr needs to hit this next one in order to send it to the bonus. It was drafted by Barr. In the category of epic adventures, your question is, which Indiana Jones character would you most want to have dinner with? So, Barr, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
If I'm going to have dinner with any of these characters, it's going to be Marion Ravenwood. Marion Ravenwood is not only just a really smart and witty and likable person, but she also she's got like communication skills that's going to make me feel like I'm enjoying my time while I'm having this dinner with her. It's not just going to be a thing where we go, yeah, this is really good. Wow, this is like, yeah, it's very good. Um, she's got a lot of stories behind her. They both do, but Marion is the one who kind of sees things in like a grander picture. Um, she's not too busy looking at Indy, where I think some other characters that Rue's going to bring up do kind of idolize him and just will talk about him a lot. And I think it's just going to be a very well balanced, well respected, enjoyable time.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move over to Rue. Rue, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
If I'm going to dinner with somebody, I want to have a conversation with somebody who can carry an actual full-fledged conversation. Make me feel welcome. Make me feel at home. Make me feel like I'm a part of the family. Give me things that they are doing to make me interested in them, but make me genuinely feel like they care about what I'm saying. And nobody gives more warm hugs and smiles and welcome to the family than Salah. Nobody in the world in Indiana Jones is more welcoming than that man. He's basically made Indiana Jones a part of his family. He's going to ask you about how your day was, what your adventures are like. He's going to bring up adventures with Marion, with Indy, with George Harris's character, his adventures with his big family. Bring them in. He's going to save you from poison. He's also going to give you a lot of good, great food to go with the good, great conversations. And every time you meet him, you just feel like he actually cares. Whether he is laughing, whether he is singing, whether he is hugging you, whether he is just has a giant grin. He freaking sounds like Treebeard and Gimli all put together into one.
Oh, why would I bring in Javi? You're not Andrew James Barr. But this is great. I love this. 5 and 3 before one of you starts talking.
So, Rue, I don't think Marion was a bartender for a while. There's nobody, no profession better at making you feel comfortable talking about yourself and having a direct conversation than somebody who's worked that job before. Also, with Marion, she is absolutely down to earth. Like, she is somebody that I feel like I can connect with right away. Salah's going to talk a lot about his adventures with Indy, and he's going to kind of make it about him a lot more than it is going to be about us. And he's going to get a little too loud. He's going to get a little too boisterous, especially the more that he drinks. And I'm going to start feeling really uncomfortable in that moment. Whereas Marion can handle her liquor.
Who's more down to earth than a man who has more than 5 children and a wife to please? He knows nothing about his own self because everything is about everybody else. You really have not told a lie about Marion. I think Marion is one of the coolest characters, period, except for the fact that I have not seen anywhere, any evidence in the entirety of the film that those communication skills go anywhere but talking about the men in her life, whether it's Indy or Oxley or Mutt or her father or her ex-husband. There is nothing in the film, even though she is a bartender. Every conversation is about somebody else. And I don't know where you've seen any evidence that she's going to have a back and forth about something other than the men in her life, or complaining about that or talking about that and bringing you in. Whereas Salah will actually talk about you, talk about the things he's done, talk about his family, talk about his wife, talk about that one time he saved Indy, talk about the one time he went pirating with George Harris's character, and all the different things that his kids bring him in to and make you feel like a part of the family. And that's what I want in a dinner conversation.
After a while, I feel like he's just going to be telling like a similar story of his adventures with Indy, and it's all going to start kind of like blending together. Whereas, and also the whole fact that he has kids, he's going to talk about them so much. I don't have kids. I can't relate to that in a sense. Like with Marion, I feel like I can relate to her in some terms because we both have had relationship problems. We both have like other interests in like history. I feel like I can connect with her a lot on these deeper levels. Plus, it's Marion Ravenwood. I'm having dinner with Marion Ravenwood, like one of the most beautiful women in all of films. Salah, Salah is a bit too much. He is very nice. He is very charming, but he does kind of have like this big boisterous energy that I fear that he's just going to start to go on talking about himself and overpower me, especially when he's really on.
I'm married. Why would I want to go have a conversation about single problems with somebody else? That's the issue with Marion. You can go only one way. Everything about Salah, he can converse with anybody and everybody. He can talk about, I would like to know more about his kids. I would like to know more about his wife and what his life was like before they had kids. I want to know about his adventures with Indy. I want to know about those years where we didn't see him with Indy. What was he doing before, during, and after those times, before he met Indy? And then I know, because he is so loud and welcoming, and he serenades Marion and forgets Indy when they leave off. I know he's had other adventures. I know he's up for saving people. I know he's a caregiver because of how big his family is. I know he's then going to turn around and ask me about all of that. There is no part of these movies that shows me that Marion can have a conversation or will have a conversation about what I am doing, what I am like, and don't bring it back to the men in her life. Maybe she will, but we don't see that anywhere in the movies that proves it.
Well, except for the scene where she's in the tent in the desert and like she kind of flips the conversational table on her kidnappers. So she is very interesting and charming and can have a fantastic conversation. She's also had adventures with Indy. She's also had time where she's not adventuring with Indy. That doesn't make Stella any different or more interesting or more exciting. They both have had these, and they both have these kind of stories. I think that actually, from her perspective of having been in a relationship with Indy, would make the conversation actually a little bit more interesting and put a lot more depth into that.
All of those conversations that she has are about men in her life. And after a while, I'm going to get tired of talking about that. Who does she bring up in her conversation with Belak? Indy. Everything is going to go to that same area one way or another, whereas Salah has a multitude of things to talk about. And again, has proven that he cares. His kids, his Indy, George Harris, himself, his wife, what happened before they had kids, what happened after they had kids, what happened before and after Indy. Everything is about them, but it also is about me.
Okay, we're gonna close first with Barr, or no, I'm sorry, we're closing first with Rue. So Rue, you get to close first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
At dinner, we need to have a back and forth conversation that feels like both people are heard and both people are able to be talked to. And I know with both Marion and Indy, they're going to have interesting stories, but everything with Marion is going to eventually go back to the men in her life. And I'm going to get a little bit tired of talking about those. There's nothing that proves that she can, in the movies, that she can go anywhere else with those conversations, nor anything that proves that she really shows something where she can talk about me and what I'm doing. Salah has a multitude of things to talk about for himself, his wife, his kids, Indy, what happens before he has kids, what he does in those years he's not with Indy. And we know Indy's not the only one he has adventures with because, again, the pirates and George Harris's character, but everything about Salah is welcoming, it's protecting, it's caring. And the singing he does, the serenading, the laughing, all of the personality traits show that he is a caring, loving person who is genuinely interested in you. There's not much that is shown from Marion that shows she can get to that depth of care.
Okay, let's go over to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Yeah, there's nothing to show the care that Marion Ravenwood has other than the care that she has for Indy and everyone else that she's adventuring with. Sure. Also, the gossip will be legendary. Can you imagine the gossip that we can spread together or share together? Plus, she's had other adventures outside of just the ones with Indy. How do you think that she got all the shit that she got in Raiders of the Lost Ark that everyone came to the bar to get? So she's definitely had other adventures. She's definitely fun. The way that she's partying it up with all of the guys, drinking all the other guys under the table, of course she's going to be fun. Salah's not the only one who's going to be doing that. Plus, Salah is way too humble to actually tell you all of the stories. He's gonna like try to cover some of that up and make it not as quite as exciting as you think that his stories are actually going to be. I want Marion.
Time. Don't we all?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
No comment. I'm seeing someone.
I want that on the shirt.
Oh man. All right. I'm ready. Javi looks ready. Mark looks like he's writing. And now he's ready. Okay. Good fight. I went with Rue. I thought that Rue just painted what would be the more interesting dinner talk. And I thought that he had a really, really good moment where he said, like, anybody can have dinner with Sala and it can be enjoyable, entertaining, good. But if you have dinner with Marion, there could be some eyes on that because you might be married or you might be with someone or whatever. I thought that was actually a really smart point to make in contradiction to Barr, where Barr said that, you know, he's looking for love. So I thought that was a really good hit. But I thought Barr had a lot of good things to say about Marion that were very true, and Rue even acknowledged that. I just thought that Rue just picked out some really good examples from the movies to show why Sala would be better. So, Mark.
This is really tough. It's really close all the way through. I feel like both kind of went back and forth on like who's better. I mean, there's a point where it's like, okay, both it kind of suck because one's gonna talk about the guys that they're in, and then one's gonna, you know, just talk about you know, all their dumb adventures and like who really wants to hear about that bullshit. And then we kind of got back to the good. I think at the end, I lean towards Barr here. I think just I feel like he painted, I think, the better picture of the possibility of more fun with Marion, just because she has that capacity to get along with anybody and to cut it up with anybody, and there's probably more meat on the bone, like in a time with Marion.
All right, Javi, are we going to the bonus round?
No, I'm kidding. This time. Nah, I'm just kidding. I did have it muted and then I caught myself. But I haven't seen any of these movies. No, I'm just kidding. This one was tough also. I went with Amaru.
God, oh, goddamn. Thank you.
Just because when I first read the answers, I was like, oh, Amaru, if he brings up the food poisoning bit, that might be a good strength. And he did. And I was like, that's all right. I'm not going to count that because I was like, I already had that in my head. But regardless, I just think he was like, yeah, both of them can chat with any kind of person. But Sala, I feel like, would be like, how's your family? And how's your, like, Amaru just painted a picture of like, he'll talk and he'll say all the things that like would be interesting to hear about, but he'd also try to like pull things out of you. And I got like, yeah, like I don't want to just hear someone tell me about themselves. I'd like that about both of them. They both are very interesting characters, but who would I rather have dinner with is someone who I can like, they may be able to get something out of me as well. So I was like, I just went with Amaru for that reason. But Barr, just, yeah, both of y'all did great. Wish I could have voted for both of you, but that's not how the rules work.
It is not. But that means your winner is Amaru Moses. We're going to go to post-match interviews. We're going to start by talking to Barr. Barr, really good performance today. You always come into these matches just being like, I'm going to get my ass kicked. Yeah. And then you put up a really good performance. You put up a really good performance, even in the losses. I would not say that you got your ass kicked. How are you feeling afterwards?
I'm relieved that it's over. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get to prep for this one as much as I would have liked to. Some new developments came into my life, which took up a lot of my time. So I kind of came into this one just kind of like throwing caution to the wind. So I'm not too upset about it. Rue put up some like really great fights. This was like I think maybe the one time where I thought I had a lock answer, and it actually worked out. Like every other time, the one I was like for sure I'm gonna lose this one, I always ended up or win this one. I'm always ending up losing. So I'm really happy with myself for how I did without as much prep as I normally would put into this.
Yeah, Barr, that's awesome. I know that you and I talked behind the scenes. You're gonna probably take a step back for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad on the inside because I enjoy seeing you here. But I know you got some stuff going on, so we'll have you back next year. But is there anybody going into this next match now, looking ahead, now that you're on the outside looking in? Are you pro Rue or pro Kirk?
Everybody just love everybody.
We can't do that. We can love them, but we can't. Love doesn't help them win. I mean,
I'm Sweden in this one.
That's fair. That's fair.
Kirk and Rue are two of my best friends in this community.
Yep.
So whoever wins, I think, is going to be very well deserving because I know that the both of them put a lot of effort and work into this league. Yeah, so I just want to touch real quick on what you had said earlier. I am going to take a step back for a little bit. Life is just a little hectic right now, especially now. I may be back some point, but at the moment I need a little time for myself, and I'm very excited to see what comes while I'm gone.
Sure. Absolutely. Barr, congrats on a match well played. Maybe we'll see you in the judge's seat or something sometime soon. But Barr, congrats on a match well played. Let's bring in the winner, Mr. Moses.
No, Barr, don't do it. I was just about to tell you how much better you have gotten over the years. You did.
Rue, congrats on a great win. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. This might be the year of Rue as far as debate goes. You've won an event. You've now won a contender match. And you had to beat a couple really great players to get to where you are now going into the title match. But before we get into that, let's talk about this match. How'd you feel about your performance today?
I was scared as shit when Mark said Andrew, and I was like, that's not my name. It's A-U. What are we doing? Are we going to another fucking speed round? Fuck. Thank you, Javi. That's why I was so, because I was like, no speed rounds. Thank you. I love them, but yeah. This was a great match. I'm very honestly telling you, if it was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Barr going, I'm gonna get my ass whooped, I'd have been like, yeah, you are. I'm about to tear into you because I've seen you debate before, and you're cool, but you don't know what to do. He is so much better. Like he deserves to be here in this contender match. He gave me a lot of things that I had to find a way to counter. And I was legit like, if we go to the speed round, I kind of get it, especially because he had that closing for Marion, and that was a great closing for Marion. So congrats, Barr. That was great. I am very happy, very excited, because at least so far this year, this side of all of this movie community stuff is going well for me, because right now the other side is not.
That's fair. Rue, you're moving on to the title match, so you're going to go up against Kirk. This is going to be the is this the third time? Third time, yeah.
Third time.
And for the title, what's different this time? Like, what's going to be different this time than last time?
No, aside from me winning, because like I also still believe I either won the last title match or at least should have went to the last question. I stand by that because I run back a couple of those rounds. I was like, the things that he said I had countered previously. But anyway, Kirk is top notch. I believe I'm one of the best here, and I can beat anybody on any day. So I just think the difference is I'm going to win the belt this time.
Awesome. Well, Rue, I'm excited to see it. We're gonna see that in the viewers' view next week, but a little bit longer for you. But very exciting. Thank you, Rue, for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the title match. And that's gonna do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. I want to thank Mark and Javi for judging this one with me. Thank you to Rue and Barr for playing. Thank you to Kirk and Brian and everyone else, Nick, who helps out behind the scenes, make this shindig run. I've been Tim. We'll see you guys next time with another great match. But until then, bye-bye.
There we go. Thanks a lot. Come again.
Hey, I won't forget what you've done for me here today.
I would prefer that you do.